What's good? It's Woog. Quick Post Malone story. So between 2013, 2014 to 2016, I was managing spaces in South Los Angeles, and we basically had these adjacent huge warehouse units, and they were both multi-level, multi-story, and so we would be running different events through them through the weekends, and we would do like community garden cleanups every third Saturday of the month, and it was called Broadchester Farms. That's because our location was on the corner of Manchester and Broadway in South LA. This is like right off the 110 freeway. But we were doing all kinds of events, and one of the promoters that would often book through us was Ham on Everything. And Ham on Everything was kind of like a culture harnessing promotion that was basically on the bleeding edge and just had the pulse of the current culture. So this would be, like the Lil Uzi Vert era. Basically a lot of the new artists that were emerging around 2014, 2015, 2016, and so forth. So every other Friday, more or less, a Ham on Everything would come through. So we would pretty much allot our main second floor space where you have to take this flight of steps to get up to this big floor, which can, fit like hundreds of people. And then there was like a third floor, which would kind of be the VIP area where any artist that was coming through or their entourage would go and bypass that second large floor, which the main event and the audience would be on, and then come up to this, VIP section that, fit maybe like 40 to 60 people, kind of more of an intimate vibe up in the upstairs. So we had all kinds of artists coming through, a young pre-fame 21 Savage, Wiz Khalifa. I mean, this was post-fame for him, but he was there to pretty much wish one of the Ham on Everything co-founders, Adam, a happy birthday. And this was around the time he was dropping a mixtape called 28 Grams. And come to think of it, I think he might have gotten arrested later on that same night or morning. This is when he got arrested for, I think, having weed on him or something like that. But yeah, I think this was the same night as that arrest, now that I think about it. It was around the time of the release, again, of the 28 Grams mixtape. But yeah, Wiz Khalifa had come through at a certain point. Doja Cat would perform on Ham on Everything events pretty frequently, like multiple times. So she was there. This is around the time of her Purr mixtape. So this is before her, Amala and different albums like that. Krayshawn was always there. Lil B, Soulja Boy, just different artists around that time. And there would be the artists that are on the bill, and then there would be other artists that are just pretty much there because that was kind of a, like a tastemaker's space. For instance, Adam 22 from No Jumper was often there. Lil House Phone, you guys, he wasn't even called Lil House Phone at this point, but yeah, Lil House Phone was always over there. Lil Peep would often be just kicking it either in that Ham on Everything space or the space just adjacent to that. Because again, we had adjacent venues. And so we had a lot of, the who's who of the next wave of music coming through to those spaces. So one of the performers that we had pretty often was Father from Atlanta's Awful Records. So there was Father around the time of a song called Look at Wrist. That was like wrist, featuring Key. Key was another emerging underground Atlanta artist at the time. So they would perform pretty often. Another couple artists that were coming through around that time were like OG Mako, Vic Mensa, Waka Flocka Flame. But there was also artists who weren't emerging as famous artists yet, like Lil Peep, who would be, more or less a part of the crowd, just trying to network and so forth. But when Father and Key would come through, there was like this kind of tall white dude with long cornrows at the time, and he would be up in the VIP section. So I would be kicking it up in the VIP section because, again, my name was on the lease for these spaces. So I'd just be, hanging out and stuff. And so I ran into this dude, and we, pretty much dapped up, introduced ourselves, and he said his name was Post Malone. So we like exchanged numbers and stuff, and we were just like, kicking it. And he was explaining that he was like an up-and-coming artist and stuff, but I wasn't familiar with the single that he was just releasing at the time called White Iverson. So this song, White Iverson, would eventually emerge to be a pretty popular single and would kind of be the song that launched Post Malone's career. Because again, at the time, it appeared that he was just more or less a part of Father and Key's entourage. I remember their manager at the time was Nick Cage, and we had exchanged numbers as well. I don't know if Nick Cage is still Father and Key's manager, and I don't know if Post Malone still kicks it with Father and Key. But yeah, when I had met this dude, Post Malone, and I actually got a laugh when he did introduce himself because I just thought it was a trip. You know, Post Malone. I mean, I looked at Malone as Karl Malone from the Utah Jazz and, you know, him being a post-up type player. But Post Malone's name is Austin Post, so it was Post. I don't know where he got the Malone from, but Post Malone was kind of a funny name when he had introduced himself as such. But he was a super nice dude. Like, he was very, I mean, he was a young man, like 20, 21 years old at the time. He was very like please and thank you type of energy, just smiling all the time when everybody would be, you know, hanging up in that top, you know, floor. Another one of the artists that was, you know, from Awful Records around the same time was Tommy Genesis. Y'all might have remembered her. I mean, she for a moment was, I think, kind of beefing a little bit with Cardi B, or one was accusing the other of kind of biting their imagery or something like that. But yeah, Tommy Genesis would be featuring on some of Father's tracks. Faye Webster, the indie singer, was also kind of a part of that Awful Records camp. But yeah, Post Malone at the time, he was just mad cool, just an overall friendly vibe. And these events, by the way, this was kind of like the underground of LA culture, to where if you were on the outside of our venues around Broadway and Manchester, unless you saw tons of people lining up outside to get into the venue, you wouldn't even know this thing was a venue. It was just, again, two huge warehouse spaces across the street from like the Bank of America. Super inconspicuous, but once you walk inside, the place was a trip. It tripped everybody out who came to the venues, including Post Malone. He was asking like, damn, so what the hell you guys do with this space? This is a trip. Like, you wouldn't even know that this type of space existed in LA. And again, it was just very, very underground, where it was one of those RSVP onlys, especially as it pertained to Ham on Everything. But yeah, Post Malone at the time, again, was just launching that White Iverson single, and it's just crazy to see his career trajectory beyond that point, because the dude's got like 4 #1 singles now. I think his first #1 single after that super successful Congratulations single featuring Quavo of Migos, and even that song Congratulations hit #8, and it was on his first album Stoney. But then after that, he released the album Beer Bongs and Bentleys, which had the song Rockstar featuring 21 Savage. That song hit #1, and he had what else? From Stoney, he had I Fell Apart that hit like #16. He had Psycho from that same Beer Bongs and Bentleys album that also, like Rockstar, hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. He had the song Better Now that hit #3, and then he had the song from the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack with Sway Lee called Sunflower. That was a number 1 hit. So now he's already got 3 by that point, and then he released the album Hollywood's Bleeding, and that had the song Wow that hit #2. It had Goodbyes with Young Thug that hit #3, and of course it had the song Circles that hit #1. So those are his 4 #1 songs: Rockstar, Psycho, Sunflower, and then Circles. Crazy career over the span of just a few years, where he went from, again, being somebody who people weren't even flocking around him like that. They were actually more interested in meeting Father or meeting Key, because at the time they had larger profiles in the music game than Post Malone did. But like within 1 year of that, Post Malone emerges as one of the biggest like rap and rock stars in America. It was crazy to witness that. Just like obviously it's been crazy to witness the emergence of Doja Cat's career as well, right? But yeah, Post Malone is about to release his follow-up to that Hollywood's Bleeding album. Again, he's had just super success in just a few years. In 2016, the Stoney album peaked at #4 on the Billboard 200. His next album, Beer Bongs and Bentleys, hit #1 on the Billboard 200. That was 2018. And then in 2019, Hollywood's Bleeding also hit #1. So he's got 2 #1 albums and a #4 album. Now he's about to release 12 Carat Toothache this week, and I have no doubt that that one's probably going to hit #1 as well. So yeah, just hats off to Post Malone, outstanding career in, again, just a few years. It happened very sudden, and it feels like it was just yesterday where he was talking about this White Iverson song that he was releasing that was starting to go internet viral at the time. But yeah, let me know what you think about Post Malone. Love him or hate him, he's definitely made a big impact in the music game, and it's kind of been interesting because I wasn't sure how to peg him as a rapper versus a singer, kind of a cross between the two. I mean, there are other artists that you could kind of like, Young Lean, and other artists that aren't quite rappers but aren't quite singers, but their music is kind of that, you know, just that trappish hybrid of the two. How would you even categorize that? I mean, they call it cloud rap in some circles, but it's so successful that it's pop music today, just like a lot of rap is now pop music today. But yeah, let me know what you think about Post Malone out of Syracuse, New York. But obviously he was getting it in, you know, traveling with other artists and stuff. And I mean, I met him out in, again, this was LA 2014, 2015. So yeah, he was definitely trying to get on, and he sure as hell did get on. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you love music like I do. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.